The jungle swamplands of Virex Prime were silent except for the steady drip of water from massive vines. The air was thick. Glowing spores drifted lazily in beams of light breaking through the tall trees. Somewhere nearby something was moving through the water, slowly, silently, with purpose. She had tracked her prey for 2 days now. The alien warrior crouched low behind a cluster of twisted roots, her purple skin blending into the shadows, her silver eyes fixed ahead. He was there. The human. The one they all whispered about. The one who survived the last wave. The one who refused to run. She expected him to be armed or hiding or building traps. But instead, he was fishing. Sitting beside a small fire on a patch of dry land, the human whistled softly to himself. He wore simple clothes, damp and stained with travel. His boots were muddy and his shirt rolled up to the elbows. There was a calmness around him, something that didn't match the chaos of war happening just beyond the swamp's edge. He held a wooden rod made of jungle reed. The line dropped into the water beside him. He gave a satisfied grin as he pulled up a fish and leaned forward to cook it over the fire. She blinked. This didn't make sense. She had come ready to kill or capture. Her orders were clear. Bring the human back. Alive if possible, dead if necessary. He was dangerous, they said. Smart, unpredictable, and full of strange tricks. But nothing about this moment fit what she had been told. The human adjusted the fish carefully over the flame, unaware of her watching eyes. Or maybe, not unaware. He spoke without turning. "You've been following me for a while now," he said, his voice calm. "Figured you'd make your move before dinner." The alien warrior tensed. Her hand slid toward the knife on her thigh. He slowly raised his hands from the fire. "I didn't bring weapons," he said. "Well, not the kind you'd expect. Just dinner and a question." She stepped out of the shadows, cautious but curious. Her tall frame moved like a panther, every step silent and smooth. Her glowing necklace pulsed as she moved. Her silver hair shimmered with drops of swamp water. "You knew I was here," she said softly. "I figured something was," he replied. The birds stopped singing. "That's usually a sign." She glanced around. He was right. Not even the smallest insect buzzed now. "Why are you not afraid?" she asked. "Because you haven't attacked," he said, offering a small smile. "And because if you were here to kill me, you would have done it already." Silence filled the air again. She stepped closer to the fire. The heat made her skin glow softly, highlighting the elegant curves of the strange armor-like dress she wore. Her eyes flicked to the fish, then back to him. "You cook your prey. I cook my food," he said. "And I share if asked nicely." The warrior studied him. No fear in his eyes. No rush to fight. Just a quiet moment, a strange peace between two enemies. "You know who I am?" she asked. "You're the one they sent to bring me in," he said. "But you're not sure anymore." She didn't answer. He extended a hand. Not in greeting. Not in surrender. Just simple and open. "Sit if you want. Or finish your mission. Either way, dinner's getting cold." The fire crackled between them. The swamp seemed to hold its breath. She hesitated, then slowly, carefully sat down across from him. The hunt had changed. The fish sizzled quietly over the fire. The smell was strange to her, smoky, earthy, unlike anything her kind ever ate. The alien warrior sat still, her hands resting on her knees, her sharp eyes watching every movement the human made. He didn't seem tense. He didn't act like prey. She had hunted many before. This was different. He glanced at her, smiling like they were old friends. "You got a name?" he asked, poking at the fish with a stick. She didn't answer. He nodded slowly. "All right. Silent type. Fair enough. Want the head or the tail?" Still she said nothing, but her gaze lingered on the cooked fish. Her people didn't cook food. Meat was eaten raw, fast, and cold. Cooking was primitive, she was taught, but the warmth of the fire and the smell made her stomach tighten. "You're not from this jungle," she finally said. "Definitely not," he said, handing her a piece of fish on a leaf. "But I've been here long enough to figure out what's edible." She stared at the fish, unsure if accepting food from an enemy was weakness or something else. He took a bite of his portion. "It's not poison, if that's what you're thinking." She narrowed her eyes but finally took the fish. It was hot. Her fingers twitched from the heat. She sniffed it. Then slowly, cautiously, she took a small bite. Her eyes widened. He chuckled. "Not bad, right?" She said nothing but took another bite, faster this time. The fire crackled between them and the moment stretched longer than it should have. "I came to capture you." she said finally. Her voice was flat but quieter now. I know, he replied. Everyone wants something. They say you're dangerous. He looked at her, then up at the stars barely visible through the leaves above. I was, he said. Back when I thought it mattered, she frowned. You think it doesn't? He shrugged. Maybe it still does. But fighting, killing, it never ends. Every side thinks they're right. Every war says it's the last one. Her fingers tightened around the leaf. You ran, he didn't deny it. I left, he said. After I watched both sides burn everything to ash, including the ones they claimed to protect. She studied him closely. His eyes held sorrow. Not weakness, not fear, just weight. The kind that didn't come from cowardice, but from loss. You're not like the others, she said. He gave her a look. Not mocking, not proud, just real. And you're not just a killer, he said. They sat in silence for a while. The swamp buzzed faintly again as the jungle slowly began to breathe. Why did you cook? She asked after a while. If you knew I was coming, he smiled. Because it was dinner time. And if I'm going to be taken prisoner, I'd rather not do it hungry. She tilted her head. You're strange. Humans usually are. The fire burned lower now. She stood slowly, her tall frame rising in the flickering light. I still have orders, she said. He looked up at her. And I won't stop you if you follow them. She hesitated. Her eyes flicked to the fire, to the empty leaf in her hand, then back to him. I need to think, she said finally. All right. He nodded. Without another word, she turned and walked back into the darkness. But her steps were slower now. Her breath was uneven, and for the first time in years she felt unsure. The human cleaned his hands, looked out into the jungle, and whispered to the trees. She'll be back. She didn't go far. The alien warrior moved deeper into the swamp, but her thoughts stayed by the fire. Every sound in the jungle felt louder now. Every step, every breath, every insect buzz. She had trained to survive in places like this, to kill without emotion. But the human had spoken to her like she was more than a weapon. It unsettled her. She found a dry rock and sat. Water trickled nearby. Fog curled around her legs like ghosts. Her fingers still smelled faintly of the strange cooked fish. Her stomach no longer growled, but her mind wouldn't settle. She replayed the human's words again and again. He had known she was there. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't run. He shared food. What kind of human was that? Back in camp, her commander's voice echoed in memory. Do not hesitate. Do not trust. Humans will lie. They smile before they kill. But the human hadn't lied. He offered peace. She looked down at the glowing gem around her neck. It was her rank marker, earned through years of bloodshed. She had never questioned orders before. Never paused. Never shared a meal with an enemy until now. Behind her, a splash. She turned sharply. Hand on her knife. But it wasn't him. A scout drone floated above the swamp water. Small. Silent. Watching. Her blood ran cold. The drone blinked red once, then zipped away toward the human's direction. A signal beacon, warning the others. She hadn't reported in. They had sent machines to find her. And now they had found him too. Without thinking, she ran. Branches slapped her face, mud splashed up her legs. She didn't care. Her heart raced, not with fear, but something else. She didn't want him harmed, not yet. Not like this. She broke through the trees and skidded into the firelight clearing. The human looked up, calm as ever, tossing dry leaves onto the fire. You're back faster than I thought, he said. There's no time, she said. You have to leave now. He tilted his head. Why? A drone saw you. They'll come. More warriors. He didn't move. I thought you were the one sent to bring me in, he said softly. I was, she said, but I didn't call them. They think I've failed. They'll kill you before asking questions. And you care? She didn't answer right away. I don't know, she whispered. The human stood slowly, brushing dirt from his knees. He picked up his pack and fishing rod, then looked at the fire. I liked it here, he said. Quiet, peaceful. Peace is over, she said. Run. But he didn't move yet. His eyes searched her face. Will you stop me? He asked. She met his gaze. No. He gave a small nod. A shrill sound cut through the trees, mechanical and sharp. The first scout ship was near. Red lights flashed in the distant mist. She stepped between the human and the trees. I'll stall them, she said. You don't owe me anything, he said. I'm not doing it for you, she replied. I'm doing it because I have questions, and I won't get answers if you're dead. He gave her a rare, serious look. Thank you. No promises, she said. The human turned and moved quickly through the trees, vanishing into the darkness like smoke. She remained behind, facing the sound of the approaching squad. This time, she would lie. This time, she would protect the human. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like just a soldier. She felt like something else, something new. The red lights grew brighter. She stood still in the clearing, her body tense, her breathing calm. Her hand hovered near her blade, but she didn't draw it. Not yet. Not unless she had to. A scout ship descended slowly through the fog, its engines humming like a swarm of insects. It stopped above the trees, casting light on the fire pit and the half-burned fish. The machine scanned the area with a pale blue beam. It found no heat signatures except her own. The human was already gone. 2 warriors dropped from the ship. They were her kind, taller than most humans, armored in dull black with red glass helmets. Their boots landed with a thud. They moved with sharp military precision. One of them stepped forward. Report, he barked. She turned slowly to face him. He was here. Where is he now? I chased him into the eastern ridge, she said. He ran through the waterline. The second warrior looked at the fire and kicked it. Still warm. He couldn't have gone far. He moves fast, she said. You'll need more scouts. The leader stared at her helmet. You failed. She said nothing. You were chosen for this mission because you don't make mistakes. You let him slip. I underestimated him, she said flatly. He was smarter than I expected. The warriors exchanged a glance. The second one moved forward. We'll take over now. You're recalled, her muscles tensed. Recalled? Your mission is done, the leader said. We track him. We bring him back. You're to report to the command ship immediately. She stared at them. That wasn't protocol. Recalled warriors were either punished or replaced. If they thought she was protecting the human, they wouldn't just send her home. They'd silence her. I'll help you track him, she offered. No, the second warrior said. Your presence will interfere. She stepped closer. You're making a mistake. The leader turned his back. Return to the shuttle, soldier. That's an order. For a second she stood frozen. Then she slowly saluted. Yes, Commander. They walked past her, weapons drawn, scanning the jungle. She waited until they were out of sight, then turned and vanished in the opposite direction. She had no intention of going back. Somewhere deeper in the swamp, the human moved silently. He had heard the ship's approach and dropped low, using the mist and trees to hide his scent and heat. He had no advanced gear, no radar, no armor, just instinct and a sharp mind. He crossed through ankle-deep water, moving carefully so the ripples wouldn't carry too far. He didn't know if she'd warned him out of kindness or strategy, but something told him she had made a choice, and choices like that came with risk. He climbed a thick root bridge and crouched behind a fallen tree. From there, he could see the dim red lights flashing in the fog behind him. They were sweeping the swamp in a line, systematic, military, and getting closer. Suddenly, a soft rustle behind him. He spun, ready to fight, but it was her. She stepped into view, breathing hard. You didn't run far. I wanted to see if you'd come, he said. I had to lie to my own squad to give you a head start, she said. That makes me a traitor now. I won't ask you to stay, he said. You still have time to walk away. No, she said. I've made my choice. The human stared at her. She looked different now. Not in armor or expression, but in purpose. She wasn't hunting him anymore. She was standing beside him. She looked past his shoulder. There's an old drop base northeast of here. Abandoned. If we make it before they track us, we might have a chance. He nodded once. Lead the way. Together they slipped into the swamp shadows. Behind them, red lights searched the mist but found only echoes. The real hunt had just begun. Thick vines hung like curtains as they moved deeper into the swamp. The air grew colder and the light barely reached the mossy ground. Every step squished underfoot, but they kept moving. Her pace was quick, practiced. The human followed silently behind her, his eyes sharp, ears alert. She stopped near a wide root bridge. Beneath them, dark water flowed slowly. She turned and pointed ahead. Across that ridge, there's a forgotten outpost. We used it during early missions, but it was shut down after the ground began to sink. Is it still powered? He asked. No, she said, but the walls are solid. thick enough to hide us for a while, maybe long enough to make a new plan. They crossed the ridge carefully. She moved like a shadow. He stepped with care, avoiding the slippery roots. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about trust, and right now they only had each other. As they approached the outpost, the remains of metal walls rose from the mud like bones. The entrance was half buried under tangled vines and swamp growth. She pressed her hand against a rusted panel. Nothing happened. "It's dead," she said. He stepped forward and wiped away dirt from an emergency latch. "Let me try." She watched as he used a small piece of metal to pry open the side panel. Wires spilled out. He twisted two of them together and a soft hiss came from the door. The ancient mechanism groaned, then opened just wide enough to slip through. She blinked. "You know alien tech?" "Bits and pieces," he said. "I listen more than I talk." Inside, the air was damp and heavy, but safe. The walls were lined with cracked panels and blinking error lights. One corner had collapsed, but the rest was intact. There was even a small platform above, used once as a lookout. She closed the door behind them. The silence was thick. He set his bag down and sat on a crate. She stood across from him, arms crossed, unsure of what came next. "I never asked," he said. "Do you have a name?" She hesitated. "Resky," he nodded. "I'm Ty." They sat in silence again. "You had 100 chances to run," she said. "Why didn't you?" "Because I've been running long enough," Ty replied. "And because I think you didn't really want to catch me." She looked away, but she didn't argue. "I believed everything they told me about your kind," Raske said after a while. "That humans were violent, dishonest, wild, and you still tracked me alone. I wanted to see it for myself. And now?" he asked. "Now I'm not sure," she said. "You don't fight like they said. You don't even hide like prey. You fish," he chuckled. "Fishing is peaceful. You wait, you think. You respect the world around you." "I was never taught to respect," she said, "only to follow orders." "Well," Ty said, leaning back, "maybe it's time you taught them something instead." She stared at him. Then the outpost lights blinked, once, then twice. She looked up. "That's not normal." Ty was already standing. "What is it?" "They're scanning," she said, "using frequency pings to find heat signatures inside structures." "Will this place hold?" "No," she said. "Not if they get a direct hit." He stepped to the side wall and lifted a loose panel. Behind it, a tunnel sloped downward. "What's that?" "Old water line," she said. "Collapsed on one side. It might still lead out." They didn't wait. They grabbed their things and slipped into the tunnel. It was dark, tight, and smelled of rot. But it was their only way out. Behind them, the outpost lights flickered again, and then shut off completely. The hunters had found the trail, but the prey had already vanished. And this time, they weren't running apart. They were running together. The tunnel narrowed as they moved deeper. The air turned thick with moisture and water dripped steadily from cracks above. Raske led the way, her movement smooth even in the dark. Ty followed close behind, one hand brushing the wall to keep balance. His footsteps echoed softly, mixed with the splash of shallow water beneath their boots. Neither spoke for a while. There was only the tunnel, the sound of breathing, and the feeling that time had slowed. Raske stopped at a broken section of pipe. Roots hung from the ceiling. She scanned the path ahead. "This used to lead to the lower ridge," she said, "but the map in my head might be years out of date." "I trust your instinct," Ty replied. She turned her head. "Even after I hunted you? You warned me instead of killing me. That says more than orders ever could." She didn't answer, but her eyes softened. It was strange, having someone believe in her without question. Even among her own people, respect had to be earned with blood and victory. But here, in this forgotten swamp, a human had given it freely. They pushed forward until they reached a small hatch. Raske forced it open, and a rush of fresh swamp air poured in. Outside, the moon was rising behind the thick canopy, and the air was alive with quiet noises of the wild. They crawled out onto solid ground. Ty stood and stretched his back. "Where now?" he asked. Raske looked around. "There's a shallow cave system about 2 clicks west. If we make it there before dawn, we can rest. Lead on." As they walked, the ground began to rise. Moss covered everything. Small glowing insects drifted through the air like floating lights. Ty marveled at them, but Raske barely noticed. She had lived with this beauty all her life. It had become normal. "Why did you really leave your army?" Ty asked after a while. She slowed. Because I started seeing too much. Too much what? Doubt, innocent blood. Warriors trained to destroy, not to think. We became machines. I followed orders until I couldn't tell who the enemy was anymore. Ty nodded slowly. That's when you stop being a soldier and start being human. She raised an eyebrow. I'm not human. No, he said. But you're starting to feel like one. For the first time, she smiled. They reached the cave entrance hidden behind thick vines. Rasky cleared the way, then stepped inside. The space was wide enough to sit comfortably. The air was cooler, and the wall shimmered slightly from embedded minerals. Ty sat down and leaned against the stone. Rasky remained near the entrance, watching. You ever get tired? He asked. Never while on mission. You still think this is a mission? She glanced back. I don't know what this is anymore. He handed her a piece of dried root he'd taken from his pack. Then let's call it survival. She took it, hesitated, then sat beside him. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft chirping of night creatures outside the cave. Finally, Rasky broke the silence. You said you used to fight? Ty looked at the wall. Yeah, I was part of a scout unit. We were told to strike first. Make examples. What happened? We struck a village, he said quietly. No weapons. Just families. That was my last order. She understood the weight in his voice. She had carried similar weight for years. Maybe this swamp is where broken soldiers go, she said. He smiled faintly. Or maybe it's where they heal. They didn't need to speak after that. For the first time in days, both closed their eyes. Not as enemies, but as something else. The morning mist curled around the trees like smoke. The swamp had a way of swallowing time. You could fall asleep at night and wake unsure whether it was morning, or just a softer kind of darkness. Inside the cave, Rasky opened her eyes first. Her hand moved to her side, instinctively checking for her weapon. Still there. Still safe. Then she looked at Ty. He was sitting cross-legged now, chewing on a root and staring out through the vines. You sleep with your eyes open? She asked. He smiled without turning. I got used to resting lightly. Never knew when a squatter beast would roll through. She stretched her arms, her muscles stiff. You could have left while I slept. And gone where? He said. You're the one who knows these paths. She rose to her feet. I'm not leading anymore. Not unless we both decide what happens next. Ty turned toward her. Then let's talk about it. Outside, the jungle buzzed with life. Strange bird calls, splashes in the distance, the steady hum of insects. All of it felt sharper now, more alive. Your people think I'm a threat, he said. They'll keep coming. I know. And yours? She asked. If they find out you're helping me, I'll be marked a traitor, Ty stood. Then we can't stay here long. Rasky looked into the trees. There's one place left. He waited. It's called the Shatter Pools, she said. Ancient ruins, forbidden, the scanners avoid it. Too many energy distortions. He raised an eyebrow. And you've been there? No, she said. But I've studied it. Old tech, very old. Maybe even older than both our species, Ty nodded slowly. You think we can hide there? I think if we don't, we'll be caught. They packed what little they had. Ty slung the fishing rod over his shoulder. Rasky took one last look at the cave, then stepped out. The sun was beginning to rise, sending golden light through the branches above. They walked together through the vines and over the roots. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes not. The silence wasn't uncomfortable anymore. After an hour, Rasky stopped suddenly. Her hand shot out to stop Ty. What is it? He whispered. She pointed to the ground. A small glint. Metal. Ty crouched and looked closer. A sensor, almost invisible, buried beneath leaves. Tripwire beacon, she said. If we'd stepped on it, they would have locked in our position. Ty looked up. That means they're getting close. She nodded. Faster than I expected, he looked around. We need to move now. They turned off the path and moved through thick undergrowth. Rasky's hand stayed near her blade. Ty held a sturdy stick like a staff, just in case. Eventually, the trees began to change. The air grew colder. The plants gave off a strange glow. We're close, Rasky said. How do you know? She pointed up. High above, massive stone arches twisted out from the earth like the ribs of a giant beast. The ground beneath their feet turned from mud to broken stone. The Shatter Pools, she whispered. Ty stepped carefully beside her. Feel old. It is, she said. Even our historians don't agree where it came from. They stepped over a low wall and into a circular basin. Dozens of pools shimmered before them, glowing with soft blue light. Reflections danced on the rocks and strange carvings covered the walls. Ty dropped his pack. This place is amazing. It's also a last chance, Raske said. If they find us here, there's no escape route. Ty looked at her. Then we make our stand. She stared at him. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't even nervous. She nodded once. For now, they were safe. But both knew the hunt wasn't over. And next time, the hunters wouldn't be machines. They would be people they once called their own. The shatter pools shimmered quietly under the strange light. Ty knelt beside one, watching the glowing water ripple as if alive. Blue and green light danced across his face. Raske stood near the edge of the basin, her eyes fixed on the symbols carved into the stone walls. Ancient writing, she couldn't read it, but she could feel its weight. This place, she said, wasn't built by either of us. Ty looked up. You think it's older? It is, she replied. This stone, it's not natural. It bends light, holds heat. Even after centuries, it lives. He touched the surface of the water. It wasn't warm or cold. It just existed, calm, steady, deep. Maybe this place was meant for people like us, Ty said. She looked at him. Outlaws? No, he said. Those who stopped following the fight. Her eyes softened. That's what we are now. They set up a small camp between two pillars out of sight from the open sky. Ty tied up a thin sheet for cover while Raske placed alert stones around the perimeter. Small devices that clicked softly when touched. They sat near one of the larger pools, letting the strange light fall over them. I used to think humans were wild beasts, Raske said. Loud, crude, always trying to prove themselves. We kind of are, Ty admitted. But not all of us. She looked at him carefully. Why did you really stop fighting? He didn't speak for a moment. Then, my brother died in a crossfire. It wasn't supposed to happen. He was unarmed, standing between two units, mine and theirs. I saw both sides fire, and then I saw him fall. Raske's voice was quiet. Did they care? No, he said. They marked it as acceptable loss. That's when I walked away. She didn't respond right away, but her hand reached out and rested gently on his. Just once, then pulled back. I lost someone too, she said. A student. Young, eager. She followed me into a battle zone. Took a shot meant for me. Ty's voice was soft. You were her hero, and I failed her. They sat with the silence again. But this time it wasn't heavy. It was shared. Suddenly one of the alert stones clicked. Raske stood immediately. Her eyes scanned the shadows beyond the ruins. Ty grabbed his rod and pack and crouched low. Another click. Then another. They've found us, she said. How many? He whispered. I don't know. Ty moved closer to the stone wall. Raske stepped out into the basin's center. Her back was straight. Her blade was at her hip. And then, figures emerged. 4 of them. Armored. Tall. Her kind. The lead one stepped forward and removed her helmet. Raske's eyes widened. Commander Kale. Raske, the older warrior said, voice sharp but not angry. You've gone dark for 5 days. I had reason, Raske said carefully. Kale looked at Ty. So the rumors are true. Ty didn't speak. He stood still, meeting her gaze. You're sheltering him, Kale continued. I'm protecting a truth, Raske said. He's not a threat. He's a fugitive, Kale replied. And you're in violation of High Command orders. High Command lies, Raske said. The other soldiers raised their weapons slightly. Kyle's eyes narrowed. You know what comes next. Raske placed her hand on her blade, but Ty stepped forward. Wait, Kale turned. You dare speak? He nodded, only to say, if you shoot her, you'll only prove everything we both walked away from. Kyle stared at him, then looked at Raske. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Kyle turned away. We didn't see you. She walked back into the fog. The others followed. Raske exhaled. Ty looked at her. What just happened? She remembered who she used to be, Raske said, and for the first time they both felt something like hope. The jungle stayed quiet long after Kale and her team vanished into the mist. Raske didn't move for several minutes. Her muscles were tense, heart steady but alert. Ty kept an eye on her face, reading the storm behind her calm expression. She let us go, he said finally. She spared us, Raske corrected. There's a difference, Ty nodded. Will she stay silent? Raske looked out across the glowing pools. I don't know. but I saw it in her eyes. For a second she remembered who we were, before the orders, before the war. They sat back down on the stone edge. The water's soft light rippled around their feet. Ty stared at his reflection. Raske watched him with quiet thoughtfulness. "We won't get many more chances like that," he said. "No," she agreed. "Next time they won't come with questions." He turned to her. "So what now?" She looked at the ancient symbols carved into the stone walls. "This place is old but not dead. There's something here. Something the scanners can't touch. You think we can use it? Maybe not for hiding," she said, "but maybe it can become a signal." Ty frowned. "A signal?" "A new side," she said. "Not command. Not rebels. Not deserters. Something different. A voice in the middle. A reason to stop the killing." He raised his eyebrows. "You think people will follow us?" "I don't care if they do," she said. "I just want to give them the choice." Ty stared at her for a long time. "You've changed." "I met someone who made me question everything," she said, not smiling but softer now. He looked at her, really looked, and something unspoken passed between them. "Not romance. Not command. Just respect, trust, then let's start," he said. "Whatever this is, wherever it goes," she stood. "First we gather proof. The Empire doesn't believe words. They believe evidence." Ty opened his pack and pulled out a small recording device. Simple, old, but still functional. "We document everything. From the patrols to the drones to what we found here. And the fish," Raske added suddenly. Ty blinked. "The fish?" She shrugged. "They should know what they're missing," he grinned. "Fair point." They spent the next hours exploring the ruins deeper. Beneath the stone basin, a lower level revealed itself. Ancient machines hummed faintly like they were sleeping. Raske touched one and it lit up, casting symbols into the air, languages neither of them could fully read. "It's broadcasting," she whispered. "But to where?" Ty stepped closer. "Not to anywhere we know. Maybe this place is a relic of something that came before, or something still coming." They recorded it all, every glyph, every light, every shift in the walls. It wasn't just a hiding spot anymore. It was a message waiting to be heard. Night came again. The jungle beyond remained quiet, but that calm felt more like silence before a storm. Ty built a small fire. Raske sat close, arms around her knees. "If we stay," he said, "we build something. If we run, it ends." She nodded slowly. "Then we stay." There was no fear in her voice, just purpose. Ty tossed a stick into the flame. "Funny, isn't it? What? Started with you hunting me." She looked sideways at him. "I'm still not sure I shouldn't have." He laughed quietly, but deep down, they both knew. Whatever came next, enemy, ally, or something unknown, they had made their stand. Together, and there was no going back. 3 days passed. The swamp beyond the ruins stayed quiet, but Raske could feel it, pressure building. The silence wasn't peace anymore. It was the waiting breath before something sharp arrived. She sharpened her blade each morning, not because she planned to use it, but because her body remembered old routines when her mind had nothing to say. Ty spent most of his time exploring the lower levels. He had mapped the ruins by hand, marking tunnels and chambers with charcoal and dried leaves. He collected signals from the strange machines, recorded everything, and stored backup copies in hidden places in case they didn't survive. On the 4th morning, the sky turned yellow, not from sun, from shiplight. "They're here," Ty said, stepping out of the tunnel with a cold look in his eyes. Raske joined him at the edge of the basin. In the distance, cutting through the clouds, a war cruiser approached, slow, heavy, and built for fear. "How many troops does a ship like that carry?" he asked. "Enough to erase this entire jungle," Raske replied. They had known this day would come, but knowing didn't make it easier. Raske reached into her belt pouch and pulled out a thin crystal, bright blue, shaped like a fang. "Command beacon," she said. "Still keyed to my rank." Ty looked at it. "We use it?" "We send everything," she said. "Not to them. To everyone." He hesitated. "They'll label it treason." "They already have," she said calmly. They returned to the central pool. Ty placed the beacon on a flat stone beside the ancient device. Raske linked it to the console, feeding it power. Lights shimmered across the walls. Data poured through the air. Images, voices, movement from across the ruins and beyond. She added their recordings. Her voice speaking truth, his voice asking questions. Footage of the soldiers who spared them. Footage of the pools, the ruins, and the moment the hunting turned into understanding. Then, they sent it. The beacon flashed once, twice, then launched the signal upward, through the canopy, beyond the clouds, straight into open space. Far above, the war cruiser slowed. Raske and Ty stood at the edge of the basin side by side. "Now we wait?" he asked. "No," she said. "Now we stand." The cruiser hovered above the ruins, its lights scanning the area. Dozens of soldiers dropped from the belly of the ship, dark shapes gliding on thrusters, weapons ready. They landed in a circle around the shatter pools. The last to arrive was not Kale. It was High Warlord Trazek. Raske tensed. "He's the one who gave the original order to bring you in." Ty nodded. "I guessed." Trazek stepped forward, tall and armored, his face hidden beneath a mirrored helmet. "You've made quite a noise," he said, voice echoing through speakers. A traitor and a human standing in forbidden ground sending out forbidden signals. Raske didn't move. "What part of the truth do you fear most?" Trazek didn't answer. His hand twitched toward his weapon. Then, another ship appeared, sleek, silver. Not a warship. Human markings. It hovered beside the cruiser, quiet but proud. A voice came through every speaker on the ground. "This is Captain Haller of the Terran Alliance. We received your signal. We're responding." The soldiers on the ground looked up. Trazek turned. "You called them here?" Ty stepped forward. "We called anyone willing to listen." More ships appeared, small ones, unarmed. Courier crafts, civilian scouts. They hovered at a distance, watching. The signal had gone far. Raske looked around. "They're not here to fight. They're here to see." Trazek's helmet lifted slightly. His face was tired, angry. But deep in his eyes, there was something else. Doubt. He turned without a word and signaled his troops. They rose back into the cruiser. Within minutes, the sky cleared. Raske stood still for a moment. Then she let out a slow breath. Ty smiled. "So what now?" She looked up at the clouds. "Now we build." And as the jungle slowly breathed again, the ancient ruins of the shatter pools finally echoed with something they hadn't known in generations. Hope.